Subscribe to FutureMoneyTrends.com today to receive our weekly wealth digests, expert interviews, and to read monthly investment and income-producing ideas. FutureMoneyTrends.com, smart money invested in future trends. Greetings and thank you for joining us at FutureMoneyTrends.com. I'm here with Muir Matteson. He is the author of The Non-Violent Zone. We're here at the Freedom Fest in Las Vegas. Muir, thank you for joining us.
You're welcome.
Sir, the Non-Violent Zone, your banner here clearly caught my eye. No government whatsoever. Is that what you believe? So you believe we should be able to have a life or a society with no government at all?
Yes, I believe so. We could still have police and courts. They would just be run by private companies, and there'd be several of them competing for your business, so you could choose whichever police company is the best at fighting crime, and whichever court is the most fair, and also cheapest, perhaps. And
now, what about people who didn't have money to pay them? How would they get police response?
Well, really, you don't need the police unless a crime is committed against you. And I believe that if you had free market courts, they would have an interest in having the criminal pay for all of the costs he's caused. Okay. So the private police would be very likely to catch the criminal because they'd be highly motivated to. And then the court would tell the criminal, okay, you have to pay your victim all the damages. You have to pay for the cost of the police tracking you down. So the victim wouldn't have to pay for the police. So you actually would never have to pay for the police.
Now, isn't there a big problem in that most criminals are actually poor?
Well,
and also, once you're a criminal, it's harder to get a job.
Yes. However, if the prisons were run by free enterprise, they could arrange for the criminals to have jobs, because there's no reason a criminal can't be on the phone taking orders for products or fixing things or manufacturing things, or even out and about with an ankle bracelet to keep track of him. There are all kinds of things that they could do to earn money.
What if they refuse to work in the prison?
Well, then their life wouldn't be very good.
We go pretty down the rabbit hole. So they would stay in the prison.
Their life just wouldn't be very good if they refused to work.
Okay, so now what about capital crimes? Let's say somebody kills somebody, and injures a dozen other people in that house or area. They need police attention. That person obviously is never coming out of prison, and they refuse to work. So where is this private company going to receive compensation for responding to that murder?
Well, I don't have a solution for absolutely every possible problem.
And you can go down the rabbit hole forever, but
if you can imagine that same thing happening in our current society, the outcome isn't very good. So I think in a free enterprise society, the outcome would be better. Sure, it's still an awful situation, but I think the outcome would be a little better.
Now, how would we, as far as let's say we want to own land, would in a free society, would people be able to own their own properties?
Certainly, that's one of the most important things in a free society.
And who would recognize that they have a right to that property? How would somebody just not take it from them?
Well, there could be companies that keep track of land titles and to help you prove that you're the rightful owner. There's no reason that wouldn't work.
One of the big fears from people is that, well, what if you've got collectively a group of people who come together and they're the bad guys, And that's kind of, the whole reason why a lot of people want some type of government to create some type of boundary. So let's say there was a Hitler that rose up and he had a huge group of people. How would people ensure that they wouldn't just be taken over by an aggressor?
I don't see how a Hitler would rise up. Hitler rose in an environment where the use of force was accepted. The initiation of force against people was just accepted because they'd grown up under government all their lives and never known anything else. If they had grown up with no government, they would not feel that was a a cause they would want to join. They would clearly see how bad it was.
What would stop people from creating a nuclear bomb or a gun that can, or not a gun, a bomb, any bomb? What would stop people from doing that? And right now, an individual could not create a nuclear missile or a nuclear weapon, or the government would stop that. Who would stop that in place of the government if they were regulating that?
Well, I think one thing that would stop them is if you'd have no reason to build such a weapon for aggression, because it just wouldn't work very well. You're just going to destroy things. I don't think there are that many people that would want to.
They're not, and there's, 45, they say, the FBI claims there's about 40 to 50 serial killers in the United States right now. I mean, there's always somebody out there. I think that's the thing that's rough for people to make the leap to complete freedom.
Okay, well,
even in your society, there's going to be some force. Somebody's going to have to regulate people in some way. I can't do stupid things, right?
I can't prove that this would happen, but I believe you see with increasing prosperity, you have a lower level of violence. A free enterprise society would be a very prosperous society. So you would just have very few people interested in causing violence like that. And you can see, as the world has become more prosperous, the amount of war and violence has dropped precipitously. Europe used to just have constant wars over the centuries. They never went a decade without a war. Mm-hmm. And now that they're prosperous, they've gone many decades without a war, and there's just no war on the horizon either. You look at Europe today, and it's almost inconceivable that those countries would ever go to war with each other again. And I think you see that same thing on an individual level. Poor people are more likely to be angry and feel like doing something violent. Rich people, or even just moderately well-off people, are happy with their lives the way they are and don't feel a need to cause trouble.
Yeah, it's very true. In living in this type of society, how would it be done? Do you think we would start on maybe an island, or how would this ever become actionable?
That's the hard part, is getting it started. I don't have a solution for that yet. I think, if a group of people could get together with billions of dollars, they could possibly buy a small chunk of land in a small country like Zimbabwe, perhaps, where it's just been devastated by its current government, and the people in charge are desperate for money. So they might very well accept a large amount of money in exchange for a small parcel of land somewhere off in the least fertile and least productive part of the country. And certainly a free enterprise society could prosper anywhere. It doesn't have to be on fertile land or a place that's populated already.
What will people get out of reading your book if they are, let's say, just an average person who's never even heard of this type of theory?
Well, they'll see that anything that government does could be done better by free enterprise, and I believe maybe change their thinking. I've had several people report back to me that it's had an impact on the way they think.
Great. Well, if anybody wants to pick up the book, The Nonviolent Zone, where do they go? Do they go to your website or Amazon?
Nonviolentzone.com.
Nonviolentzone.com.
Yes.
Thank you so much for your time.
Well, thank you.